with 6:45 remaining. Tatum drives down and throws it down. Wow!
Let me tell you something. The Boston Celtics just made a decision that nobody in that locker room, nobody in that building, and nobody watching at home was ready for. Jason Tatum, their franchise player, their superstar, the guy who spent 10.5 months fighting back from a torn Achilles just to be here, has been waived, pushed to the side in the biggest game of the season. Game 7, home court, everything on the line, and the Celtics looked their best player in the face and told him, "You're not playing tonight."
I probably saw when I went to the back, saw me on the bike. My leg just was a little stiff when I came out.
And the fans, furious, the coaches, scrambling, the locker room in complete disarray because nobody saw this coming, and the way it went down makes it so much worse. Now, before you think this is just about a knee, stop right there, because what I'm about to show you goes way deeper than an injury report. There's a plan that was made, a protocol that was followed, and a series of decisions that led to Tatum being waived to that bench while his teammates fought for their season without him. By the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly how this happened, why the people closest to this situation are not happy about it, and what this means for the future of the Boston Celtics. Don't go anywhere, because this story gets wild. Let's set the scene first, because context is everything here. The Boston Celtics, the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, had a 3-1 series lead over the Philadelphia 76ers, a 7-seeded Philadelphia 76ers team, by the way. All Boston had to do was close it out. They had 3 chances to put this away, and they couldn't do it. So Game 7 arrives. Saturday night, TD Garden. The building is electric. The whole city is locked in. And then, just 90 minutes before tip-off, the news drops like a bomb. Jason Tatum has been ruled out. Left knee stiffness. Done. Not playing. And the reaction? Instantaneous chaos. Fans who paid hundreds of dollars for those tickets are standing outside the Garden reading this on their phones in disbelief. Social media immediately on fire, but here's what made it even more confusing. This was the same Tatum who, just 48 hours earlier after Game 6, looked the cameras dead in the face and said he wasn't overly concerned about his leg. He expected to play. The team didn't even have him on the injury report that Friday. So how do you go from "I'll be fine" to "he's out in less than 2 days"? That's exactly what we need to dig into, because the answer involves something most people haven't fully grasped yet. Here's where the story gets layers that the average fan isn't fully seeing. Yes, Tatum had left knee stiffness. That part's confirmed. He felt tightness in the back of his left knee during Game 6 in Philadelphia, exited in the 3rd quarter, got treatment, and didn't return. The team called it left leg stiffness, and everyone assumed it was minor. But when Tatum came into the arena Saturday morning, that stiffness had gotten worse. And this is when Coach Joe Mazzulla, the medical staff, and trainer Nick Sang, the same guy who worked with Tatum every single day through his Achilles rehab, sat down together and made a decision that would define Boston's entire season. They pulled him. Now here's the critical detail that makes this entire situation so complicated, and it's something Tatum himself explained the next day. He revealed that he was still inside what's called the return-to-play protocol, stemming directly from his Achilles surgery. This isn't just about the knee. This is a structured rehabilitation plan with rules, checkpoints, and timelines. The protocol requires a player to progress from light activity to non-contact work to full practice with no restrictions over a minimum 48-hour window. Tatum had not completed that progression. In his own words, there were just certain rules and a plan that ultimately we had to stick by. Let that sink in. This wasn't Tatum being soft. This wasn't the coaches being overly cautious for no reason.
You could just see, there'd be moments where he'll just kind of have this blank stare.
Yeah.
It was so tough to see somebody, that you care about just be, at an all-time low.
There was a medical framework in place, built specifically to protect a player who just 10.5 months ago had his right Achilles tendon completely torn in last year's playoffs. A career-threatening injury, the kind that ends players, the kind that took him out for the entire regular season, all but 16 games of it. And Tatum was honest about this too. He said it himself. I guess a little to be expected. I was away for 10 and a half months and then came back playing every other day, 36 to 40 minutes a night. It's not unusual that something would come up, and he averaged 36.2 minutes per game across his 6 playoff games against Philly, coming off a torn Achilles. Of course, his body was going to talk back at some point. The question is whether the timings of Game 7 makes the decision defensible, and that's where things get really divisive. Let's talk about what happened inside that building, because it was not pretty. Without Tatum, Mazzulla had to completely overhaul the starting lineup. He went with Ron Harper Jr., Baylor Shireman, Luka Garza, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown. 3 of those 5 starters had never started a playoff game before in their careers, and the result? All 3 of those first-timers, Harper, Shireman, and Garza, finished the game scoreless. 0 points combined. In a Game 7, that's a first in the NBA since the 1970-71 season. Jaylen Brown put up a gutsy 33 points. Derek White added 26. They fought. They clawed back from 18 down to within 1 point in the fourth quarter. But then Boston missed 10 consecutive shots in the final 5 minutes, and Philadelphia walked out of TD Garden as the winners, 109-100. And then the cameras caught this. A fan outside the Garden absolutely losing it, screaming, pointing, yelling at Tatum directly. "It's your fault, bro. You're the reason we lost. You couldn't play." That clip went viral within minutes. It was raw, it was emotional, and whether you agree with it or not, it represents exactly how a massive portion of the Boston fan base felt in that moment. And look, Mazzulla has his own questions to answer here too. This is a coach who, after Game 6, publicly said Tatum would play in Game 7. He'll play, were the exact words. Then he didn't play. That kind of reversal at that magnitude destroys trust. It doesn't matter if the medical staff made the right call. In the court of public opinion, the optics are brutal. Bill Simmons, Boston's most famous sports voice, fired off on social media saying he would never understand it and that it made no sense as it was happening. Now let's talk about the Philadelphia side of this, because there are multiple fires burning here simultaneously. Joel Embiid, who had his own injury drama coming back from an emergency appendectomy on April 9th, played 39 minutes in Game 7. 39. The man had surgery less than a month ago, and he put up 34 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. While Tatum watched in street clothes, Embiid was doing everything short of willing the 76ers to victory. After the game, Embiid took to social media with a message to Boston fans. "Round 1 done. Boston, please be classy, my friends. I still love and respect you. Gracious? Sure. But for Celtics fans still fuming, that message landed like salt in a wound." Then there was Tyrese Maxey, who had 30 points, 11 assists, and 7 rebounds, making a comment post-game that sent the internet into orbit. When asked about finding out Tatum wasn't playing, Maxey said once we found out JT was out, honestly, we felt that the game was going to be even harder. His point was that Boston without Tatum would be more desperate, more open, more unpredictable. But the internet didn't hear nuance. Celtics fans heard disrespect. The clip spread everywhere, and suddenly Maxey was getting dragged across every platform. And then there was this moment, the one that sparked the initial frenzy. After the final buzzer, cameras caught Jason Tatum in his street clothes, having watched his team get eliminated, walking over to Joel Embiid for a conversation on the court. The two talked. They laughed a little. They showed genuine mutual respect. And Celtics fans, they lost it. To be fair, these are two players who understand each other's journey better than almost anyone. Both have had their careers derailed by major injuries. Embiid knows what it means to fight back from the brink. Tatum just lived through 10 and a half months of Achilles rehab, wondering if he'd ever be the same player. There's a real bond in that shared experience. But optics are everything in sports, and watching your star player who just sat out a Game 7 laughing with the guy who just ended your season, that image burned. Now here's what separates a reaction video from a real analysis. Looking at what this actually means going forward, Tatum was clear on one thing: this knee is not a long-term concern. He was emphatic that had Boston won Game 7, he would have been ready to go against the Knicks in the second round. He said it plainly. The knee stiffness is a short-term issue, and a long offseason is exactly what his body needs to get to 110%. He actually framed it himself. "One of my legs is still smaller than the other one. Now that I get a long offseason to really get back to 110%, I guess that's the silver lining of it all." That's a player who is focused, who is not broken, who is already thinking about coming back stronger. But here's the hard truth Boston has to wrestle with this summer. This team blew a 3-1 series lead, something that had never happened in franchise history. They lost to a 7 seed. They had 3 separate opportunities to close out a first-round series and couldn't do it. And yes, Tatum missing Game 7 is a massive variable, but Games 5 and 6 happened with Tatum in the lineup. The issues run deeper than one injury. Mazzulla's seat is going to get hot this offseason. Questions about lineup management, minutes management, and how Tatum was used down the stretch of this series are all going to be front and center. Did they push him too hard, too fast coming off an Achilles? Did the 36-minute playoff nights catch up with them at the worst possible time? So here's where things stand. Jason Tatum sat out the most important game of the Celtics season. Not because he quit, not because he was afraid, but because a medical protocol built specifically to protect his post-Achilles body made the call for him. He followed the plan. His coaches followed the plan. And the result was an elimination loss that has Boston fans questioning everything. The Tatum-Embiid post-game moment wasn't betrayal. It was 2 warriors acknowledging each other. But the optics in the heat of that loss? Brutal. And now the real question isn't what happened in Game 7. The real question is, what happens this summer? Does Mazzulla return? Does the front office make moves? Does Tatum come back next season fully healthy and ready to prove this was just a detour? Based on everything we've broken down today, I believe Tatum comes back with a vengeance. The talent is undeniable. The mentality is undeniable. But this Boston core has some hard conversations ahead. What do you think? Is this the beginning of the end for this Celtics era, or is next season their redemption arc? Drop your answer in the comments, and if you want to stay ahead of every move Boston makes this offseason, make sure you're subscribed, because this story is absolutely not over.